I went to the pizza place the other day.
Oh.
Yeah. Someone pointed at a plain piece of pizza and asked what it was. And I shook my head.
Temperature check, icy cold. Temperature check, searing hot. Temperature check, listen to the temperature check, icy cold. Temperature check, searing hot. Temperature check, listen to the
temperature check with Noah and Josh.
Good morning, Noah.
Good morning, Joshua.
This is
How
the latest.
Are
you? Yeah, good. Good.
Good.
Yesterday was the first day that my oldest went back to school for 2.5 hours. Every 3 days, she goes back to school for 2.5 hours. So yesterday was her first day, and I happened to coordinate that the youngest had a play date at the same time. I've been looking forward to this for
You had a little me time?
Oh my God. Just to catch up on work, right? Just catch up. I dropped the youngest one off, and as I'm leaving her friend's place, I noticed there's something weird with our bike, and I look and like the stand that it's a cargo bike, so it needs the stand. This isn't like without the stand you can't park it anywhere. It's about to fall off.
Oh.
And I went up to the bike shop and I had to wait. And that was the entire 2.5 hours was just me taking care of the bike. That was
Oh man.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm all right. There are signs that things are moving towards normality. Everyone's saying normalcy, but that's not a word. You know that word was made up by a U.S. president who didn't know what he was talking about?
Sounds about right.
Yeah. It's Truman or something. I don't know. Return to normalcy. Yeah, there's a little bit of that. I guess the very fact that you had 2 hours of alone time without kids is some sign of returning to normality. I went to the pizza place the other day.
Oh.
Yeah, someone pointed at a plain piece of pizza and asked what it was. And I shook my head. And I was like,
thank you for this sign of normalcy.
Yes, exactly right. So it's a good sign. Things are happening.
What's your temperature?
I'm at a flat 35 degrees.
Wow, that's cold. That's cold.
Yeah, it's been cold here. I don't know.
I'm at 36.6 again. You know what? That's a good sign.
Yeah.
So we got something a little different this week. We promised you that we were going to release, not you, Noah, I mean you, everyone listening. We promised that we were going to release the extended interview with our brother, Dr. Ben Telson, 6 weeks ago when we originally interviewed him, but it's coming out today. So this is the extended interview with our brother, who is a doctor in Brooklyn, with the huge caveat that this was recorded at the beginning of April. So take that for what it is. I think it's still a very interesting, compelling interview.
You can get a mini time capsule.
Exactly. I mean, most of it is still very relevant. And then after our interview with Ben, we have something from our other Ben, from Ben Lorch. We have episode 2 of General Corona Hospital. So enjoy that this week. Off we go. Ooh, you look tired.
Do I? I can't believe you can see that through this.
Check. Damn, dude. So I guess what's off limits? Like, what don't you want to talk about?
There's nothing off limits. I mean, there's just things that I can't really talk about because I don't have all the answers.
All right. I just don't want you to get in trouble with the man.
I mean, well, I don't want to get my hospital in trouble for things that would be perceived as poor management of patients. And it's just, that's not a fair assessment. And I work in a relatively small city hospital in Brooklyn. And I mean, it's easy to criticize individual moments in this crisis, but I mean, overwhelmingly, I feel like we're just we're just overwhelmed. So,
yeah.
I guess the other thing is, I mean, I find myself online. I don't know why I pick these fights, but there's, I'm sure you're aware there's I guess they were Sandy Hook deniers. So there's coronavirus deniers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm online and there's people posting images of hospitals saying they're empty.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
It's this surreal experience of going to work. Now I've worked in hospitals for more than 10 years now. I mean, if you count the time that I was in medical school, where we spent majority of our time in hospitals, when you're having a busy night, you don't have to count or look at stats to realize when the hospital is being overwhelmed. And, there's nights where it's worse, but I have never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, and again, I've worked in so many different settings. I've been in hospitals, major city hospitals in California. I've been in rural hospitals in New Mexico and upstate New York. And here I am in New York City. And it's there's no end in sight. It's just like, the gurneys, the stretchers just piling up, people going down the hallway. I go down to the ER because I'm just working on the floor, so I have to admit people, and it'll take me like 15, 20 minutes just to find my patient.
Because there's so many people?
Yeah, there's so many people. You start getting a little sloppy with who's who. It's a scary prospect. Most people aren't breathing well, so they're not telling you. So yeah, it's wild.
We're talking specifically about COVID-19 patients. Like, how are you assessing who actually has it at that point?
Well, I mean, at this point, it's just an ongoing joke. Just assume everyone has it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not entirely true, right? Because if you think about it, this is just everything that we're seeing right now in New York is just added on top of what would normally be a busy day in a hospital.
Right.
So you're going to have heart attacks and strokes, and you're going to have normal pneumonia. I mean, honestly, I had this conundrum this week too, because I just saw this patient. You look at the way the disease is behaving, and then I realized, oh, this is just a normal pneumonia. This guy just has a normal. He tested negative for COVID. This is just actually just a normal pneumonia that you would see.
Yeah.
But it's just he's just hidden there in this enormous wall of COVID patients. I should be clear about something actually before we go any further. I'm brand new to this hospital. I should tell the story because it's insane. I got hired by the medical center to work in one of their outpatient clinics. And my first day was on March 6th. And I worked for 3 days in the outpatient clinic where I was supposed to work. And I do obstetrics. I deliver babies and I do a lot of women's health. And that was kind of why I got hired. So I saw, then the COVID patients started coming in earlier in the month. And then we had one person came in with a fever. And apparently she later tested positive. At the time, she wasn't showing symptoms. So I got taken out immediately because the approach at that time from the Department of Health's protocol for healthcare workers that are unprotected contact with a patient who later tests positive is to take them out for 14 days. At least that's what it was, right? But by the second day that I was on quarantine, furloughed on quarantine, they changed the rules so then it was just 7 days.
Oh my God.
Because at the time when I was out, there were 30 other doctors out. Well, I should say 30 other healthcare personnel, including a number of doctors. They realized they were just, of course, so many people in the early days had come in contact with patients that were positive. Obviously, we caught up and then we had protective gear. But at the time, there wasn't even any in my clinic. So they changed the rules. And then by nearing the end of that first week, they changed the rules completely. And they said, we're just not taking anyone out unless you show symptoms.
But they're not testing.
You don't test anyone who doesn't have symptoms. That's a tough one for a lot of people to wrap their head around. And it is frustrating, I think, from a lot of people, because you hear about what happened in South Korea. And apparently in South Korea, they did really good management of the crisis, in part because they did extremely widespread testing. That's also true of Iceland. Eventually, we can talk about this. There's obvious complete mismanaging of this country. I'm not defending it. But given the current situation with the ridiculous material constraints that we have and our lack of tests, it does make sense. After I got brought back from furlough, they said, we're closing the clinic. We just need you in the hospital. Are you willing to work? And I said, yeah, sure. Whatever's needed. I was just dying to get back to work, to be honest. So they put me in the hospital. And I had never worked in this hospital before. I never used the computer systems. I didn't know any of the staff. I didn't know where anything was. I didn't know how anything was structured. They just gave me like, a quick orientation. And then I was like in charge of a team. And then I just stayed on that team for the next 6 days. Just on the inpatient floors, managing patients that were admitted. And I saw just in those 6 days, this is day 7, day of rest. Those 6 days,
Did you just compare yourself to God, Ben?
I guess all of us that have been through residency are familiar with the 6-day work week, but I'm so over it. I finally got to myself in my point in my career where I didn't have to do this. I had signed a contract with a 4-day work week. This is like my new life. I was like so excited about.
Oh man.
Right back to 6 days. Okay. So I watched just in these days, because it was already insane by when I got there, but just the insanity level just every day was just like, okay. And it's funny, I have like a census of 40 patients on the floor. And like on that first day, whatever day of the week it was maybe like 50-50. These are the COVID positive patients. Here's some in the middle that are suspicious, not confirmed yet. And here's the other patients, just your run of the mill, whatever kind of crisis they found themselves in the hospital. And then by the end of the week, it's all COVID.
No, but what does that mean for people? I mean, because like you said before, there are still all the normal things that happen. So what happens to those people? Where are they now? Or are they just not? You're just not seeing them.
I mean, hey, they could be. So there were a number of patients that came in for something unrelated, I think, to COVID, and then later tested positive. That's probably because the hospital is just so contagious at this point.
Right.
It could be a complete coincidence, or no, frankly, we don't really know that much about the way. I certainly know, like, if you have a bad heart and you catch the flu,
right,
you get a heart attack.
Yeah,
it can worsen cardiac outcomes. So it's most likely true of corona too. We're probably seeing a lot of patients who are just kind of on the edge health-wise, and then this just kind of pushes them over the edge. Just having the attack from the virus. So whether they have bad lungs or bad kidneys or bad anything, this is just so. Yeah, so you see a patient that's like, well, this is a kind of a heart failure patient, but tested positive for COVID, so it's kind of 2 for 1. What else? I have a feeling that there's a certain amount of patients that would otherwise come to the hospital that are probably staying home.
Yeah, well, this is my question, because there was some of the doctors here have been cautioning people against that because they don't want people to put off something that could be potentially also,
Yeah. Oh, no, certainly, ideally. But again, if you came in because, I don't know, you've been throwing up for 3 days, and you walked into the ER of my hospital, you might just consider going back home and throwing up for another few days. because it doesn't look like you're going to get any kind of attention that you need in the hospital right now.
Yeah.
And again, that's no fault of anyone working there. I think everyone that's working in the ER right now deserves a medal, but it's just overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So I think there's a fair amount of those people. And then the scariest thing that I don't even know if I can like say it out loud yet. It's so frightening. But one of the things that doesn't get counted when you look at just pure corona fatalities is all the other people that are dying of things that they wouldn't have died of. I think that's one of the things that came out of Italy too. Their numbers are totally off because they weren't counting people that died at home.
Right. Well, and what you just mentioned,
or nursing
hospital
facilities. Yeah.
Right. There's so many people that would have gotten the care they needed, but can't now for something unrelated to COVID that are either getting very sick or dying because of that. I've played this game out a few times in conversations with people and doctors and lay people and others, and I realize it's so difficult to compare countries. The best analogy I've heard is like this: you can't compare countries. You have to compare particular little healthcare regions, right? Like coverage areas. So New York, right? You can't even compare Italy. Because Italy, if you just cut it in half, the South looks completely different than the North, right? And even like Rome and Turin and Milan are completely different. The numbers. It's a small country, so we just kind of lump it all together and look at Italy's numbers, which look terrible. But there's some places in Italy that are not having any issues at all. Right.
So every little region is like a vehicle that's careening towards a cliff or a brick wall. And depending on the area, it's either a very large vehicle or a small one. It's traveling at a different speed and it has different quality brakes. Those are all the different variables, right? New York is like a very large truck. It got started a little bit later than certain areas, but it's going really fast. And the brakes aren't good. But we do have actually a good capacity. See, the difference now, because it's going to play around this analogy for a little longer. Italy didn't have the capacity to absorb the shock as well as we did.
Yeah.
That's why I think Italy is particular. And again, I'm doing the same thing that everyone's doing. It's just lumping Italy as one. But for now, it's okay.
Northern Italy, we can say Northern Italy.
Yeah. They were caught off guard, didn't hit the brakes fast enough, hit the wall really hard, and they didn't have a lot of airbags in the car. They didn't have capacity to absorb the shock. Just New York actually to some degree does. Like I think now we've just hit our limit. I think now things are going to get really upsetting because we're full. I'm a small hospital where I'm working. We kind of reached capacity. I think it's both limited by the number of staff that we have, the people who are qualified to run the vents, the nursing staff, because, in ICU, the nurses have 1 or 2 patients. On the floors, regularly, they have, the floor nurses have maybe 7, 8 patients. But if your 7, 8 patients are behaving like intensive care patients, you can't manage that many. So they need, so the nursing staff. So because it's really easy to see on like these discussions online and on the news, like about we need more ventilators. My hospital, it doesn't really matter. We need more ventilators. That's for sure. I mean, just about the patients that need ventilators compared to the number of ventilators we have. Yeah, absolutely. We need more ventilators, but we also need this nursing staff, the ICU, just all the peripheral stuff that goes around running those. Somebody who's on a vent needs to be sedated. And in order to be sedated appropriately, you have to be on a drip, meaning a constant, not just like somebody injects a medication into you, but there's a medication that's running at a specific rate to keep you unconscious, certainly not kill you, but keep you from waking up, because waking up on a vent is a horrible experience. I mean, it can be actually life-threatening. For one thing, you could freak out and pull the vent out. The other thing is like, there's a cocktail of medication, so you could be paralyzed but awake. So there's a lot of things that go into just putting someone on a vent. Sounds really easy on the news. Like, we need more vents, but no. Like for me right now, the most important thing for me, I'm going to spend my day off sharpening up my intensive care knowledge, because it's been 2 years since I've ever managed a patient on a vent. And even then I wasn't doing much. There's been this phenomenon in a lot of hospitals across the country. These are like partly kind of technical solutions to things, but they're also obviously related to capitalism. A lot of services in the hospital have been outsourced. So I guess the first and easiest one is radiology, right? You don't need to. So in a hospital, you need somebody. You need a radiologist, kind of 24/7, right? Because there are going to be these critical moments where you really need one to give a good read on an MRI, right? Which not every physician has the the expertise to do.
Yeah.
But then having staffing of radiology 24-hour, 7 days a week, that's expensive. But radiology is like real simple. You just need a technician there to take the scan, and then you just digitally send the scan somewhere in the country where you just have a room full of radiologists. or just one or two. I mean, you don't need a room full. You just have like a central place. So that's like that company. There's a company that basically filled that gap. You know, it was, like I said, it was outsourced to a private company. I believe they're called Nighthawks. And so most hospitals, smaller community hospitals across the country, just have that service or another. At least during the nighttime, you don't need to have a radiologist anymore. Save money for the hospital. Okay. The next step was like, well, we can do pretty cool stuff with like telemedicine for other services too. Like, I mean, does a psychiatrist really need to be in the room? Or can we just wheel in a TV? They're just having a conversation, right? So that can go somewhere else. And then the big next step was like, well, do you also need critical care physicians? Because you could just have house staff there that's trained in internal medicine. And then you could have somebody in a central location looking over the monitors and kind of responding when things become critical. And you have like a lot of kind of AI built into these systems so that there's computers alerting this critical care physician that's in some kind of bunker somewhere. So a lot of hospitals upstate did that. They got rid of, at least at night, get rid of your ICU docs at night. You just need the nurses and a few people on the floor, like physician assistants, to actually do, technical skilled people to just do what the critical care physician in the bunker says. And it happened apparently at my hospital before I got there. So I was really surprised. I was like, whoa. Because I mean, I'm used to seeing this in these really rural places that I went to. But like, why is this inner city hospital doing it? Well, it's for the same reason that everyone's doing it. Because these companies offer them a package and it's cheaper than keeping a critical care physician up overnight. But let's look at what's going on right now. So that system was established. And we have all of a sudden way over capacity, just dozens of very critically ill patients. And overnight, there's basically a single resident in the ICU. One single physician who's in their third year of training, who, in order to deal with these patients, has to get on the phone somebody who's somewhere else, has absolutely no idea. Well, I mean, they're not physically there. They have they're connected through the communication systems to these patients, but it's not like being there.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it just doesn't feel like the same support that you should be getting. I see I'm not working the ICU, but the ICU physicians, the people who are on their ICU rotations as residents are basically just running from floor to floor, resuscitating people.
Jesus.
Because, it's like the ER, sometimes we'll just get a patient that's already crashing, needs to go straight to the ICU. So then the ICU doc has to run down to the ER, receive that patient. You have patients on the floor who are just going downhill, and you need to cover those patients. And then you have your 15 patients upstairs, some of which are stable, but the pattern that you see with this is certain everyone kind of plateaus at a certain level. You have just some people staying at home and they're just fine and they just ride it out, and it's like very mild symptoms. Or some people have a slightly worse course. It's like a bad flu and they feel miserable. And then you have the people who just start to get short of breath and they come into the hospital and they're just short of breath for a week or two. And then they get better. And then you have these other folks and I'm starting to see the pattern now. Just after a week, it's like, come in, having a little more trouble breathing every day. And then you kind of escalate, you get to the maximum oxygen that you can give them without intubating them. But yeah, I mean, the main strategy, is life support. You just keep them alive. Eventually, if the patient is resilient and everything works out, they'll survive. But we know that a certain percentage do not, even with the best of efforts.
I'm curious, because we're also doing this for what is ostensibly a comedy. And I think
this is the worst idea.
I actually think this is very compelling. I mean, certainly there are quite a few resources for people to kind of get information from professionals and from people on the front lines. So that's not what what we were trying to do, but nonetheless, you're our brother. And so clearly we want to use you as a resource too. But I am curious, how are you doing? Like, I'm not talking about your physical health, but like,
well, again, I mean, and this is probably the only source of comedy that I have. It's just the absurdity. I mean, it's absurdist comedy. It's surreal. I come home after, again, like a 13, 14-hour shift, and then just confronted with somebody online who thinks this doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I guess the term gaslight is a little abused lately, but I feel like I'm being gaslighted. I'm like,
yeah.
Why does this person think that, but my reality doesn't exist? Like I know that we've gotten to this point as a society where you can have the same kind of objective input, and people can just have such divergent realities about what they just experienced. I mean, that's just like, that is, if anything, that's what defines the Trump era here. Well, it's just objective fact seems to have no value anymore. And it really just matters like kind of what your overall feeling is. And so, yeah, I've gotten in these arguments with people. I'm like, because there's people who are in rural parts of the U.S. I interact with. And now not just people online, but my friends. One of my best friends thinks that this is the man. And he's playing us for a fool. And he's going to use this to tighten the control of our actions, and we're become a fascist totalitarian state. So I know where that's coming from.
Right.
It's based on a little bit of truth, which is that, again, I think Naomi Klein's whole discussion of this event. Yeah, it's exactly right. There are people that have always wanted to manage the population in a particular authoritarian way. Of course, they're going to exploit this thing. Just like Bush exploited 9/11 to pass the Patriot Act. I mean, these things aren't like, that's not a conspiracy. That's like a well-known phenomenon.
Right.
But what does that mean for me? I go into the hospital and I see hundreds of patients. A hospital that's overwhelmed with some of the sickest patients I've ever seen. And you know what the other thing is? This is just like a specific thing with working in a hospital. You admit someone, and a good doctor will have kind of at that moment of admission an idea of what it's going to take to get that patient out the door. That's not to say that you're trying to rush them out the door, clear the way for another bed so the hospital can make money. It's because a hospital is not a great place for anyone to be. It's because it's goal oriented. I always tell every patient I admit, I say, my job right now is to decide if it's healthier, safer for you to be at home or in the hospital. So depending on the scenario, it's going to be different. Mm. And I explain to them, so they know exactly why they're there, and they know exactly why I'm sending them home. But so that's just my general introduction. But the thing that I've seen with the COVID patients is that, like, yes, of course, the criteria are pretty simple. You have to be able to breathe the air that's in your room at home.
Right.
That's the goal. But usually you just have this kind of, you just see, okay, they're getting sicker maybe, and then you address that. But most patients, you just have this kind of normal hospital course where they improve over a period of time. And that's true in COVID, obviously. But I've only been working there a week. So their hospital stay is longer than the entire time that I've been at that hospital. Yeah. So I'm just in this like incredibly just like disillusioning scenario where I'm just admitting more and more patients, and I can't get rid of anyone.
Not because they're not getting better, but because it just takes that long to run its course.
Takes that long, yeah. And well, I mean, the former is correct too. They're not getting any better. They're just kind of staying the course. I think for every 5 I admit, I can get one out the door. It's kind of works. They just take longer.
Right.
A flu, a normal stay from the data I've looked at, a normal stay for the flu is like 3 to 5 days in the hospital. For COVID, it's 7 to 14 days.
I guess stepping outside the hospital a little bit. Obviously, you this is maybe the first time you stepped out of the hospital in a week, but I've seen and heard a lot of comparisons to war. This being treated like a war, and effectively like you are now a soldier in the front lines of this war. I wonder what your gut reaction is to being compared to a soldier rather than being referred to as a doctor
for our brother.
Well, I've heard war being described as long periods of boredom interrupted by sheer terror. And I think, I don't know. I don't know if that is the same. I think the boredom is shared by everyone who's not being overwhelmed with, maybe it is. Maybe that is this thing because everyone else has to stay indoors, has no idea what's going on, and is just frustrated with the scenario. And then I'm incredibly busy and overworked and tired and would just love to just sit around at home. Yeah. I don't know. I don't feel like a soldier. No, I don't feel like that at all. But it is surreal. I mean, not to mention, war is so much worse than this. You don't get to Zoom with your friends when you're at war. You don't get to take showers. You don't get to go for an early morning run.
Right.
You don't have your Peloton in the corner. I mean, there's no.
Well, also, it's not.
There's no fear of dying where a bomb drops on your house.
Well, exactly. Okay, mismanagement and, poor planning, whatever aside, like, it's not like someone chose, and conspiracy theories aside, it's not like someone dropped COVID somewhere and decided to go, invade another country.
Yeah, no, war is completely avoidable.
Right.
This is something that, people have been sounding the alarm. I guess obvious people. Well, a good friend of mine is writing a book about epidemics and plagues, but Mike Davis wrote a book 13 years ago about the avian flu. I mean, this is something that's like been on the radar. People say, yeah, eventually this will happen.
Right.
It happened in a very predictable way. And I started this by saying that it's unavoidable to some degree. I mean, as I've learned everything, natural disasters are going to happen, but the crises that result from them are completely avoidable.
Yeah. And the scale. I think there's a certain degree of the scale that could be avoided.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I saw it so many times when I lived in Cuba. You see the same hurricane, it passes over Haiti, it passes over Cuba. In Haiti, 700 people die. In Cuba, 3.
Yeah.
Or none. There were so many times when just nothing happened, They had excellent planning. I think that we can have very high standards for what we'd expect from the disaster response. At some point, I'm going to spend some time today and just think this through. But all the things that could be different in our society to the point where this could have just been a little blip.
Yeah,
we could have managed this completely different. Or, even in the worst case scenario, if everyone had to stay indoors for an extended period of time, with the right kind of society, it wouldn't even be that bad. It would be a nuisance.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, so this is,
frankly, I've also seen this. So, if you're on Instagram and you see the stay home thing and you see the stories of people, how they're spending their time, you're getting a very limited kind of spectrum of U.S. society. Most of the patients that are walking through my door don't have that scenario.
Right. They wouldn't be on Instagram anyway.
They wouldn't be on Instagram. A lot of them can't afford to stay home. They don't even have the financial reserves. It's not even an option. Staying home would mean sharing a room. I mean, there's so many homeless people.
Right.
That come into the hospital with this. There's plenty of people. Homeless is not that even precise. Homeless, does that mean you're sleeping on a friend's couch, or does it mean you're just unsheltered in the street? Mm-hmm. I've had every one of those patients. So I've had people who actually kind of fought it, are doing better, totally dischargeable. Love to send you home, but there's nowhere for them to go.
Fuck.
Yeah. So, and then of course, shelters aren't going to take someone who's positive. That can't even send them to social services.
I have plenty of criticisms about how it's been dealt with in Europe, but it's so much better. It's so much better. I mean, there are places in Europe, many places where they're opening up these empty hotel rooms for exactly that population because they know it's smarter in the long run.
There's so many empty hotel rooms in New York right now.
I can't even imagine.
I walked, it's actually kind of, God, I don't want to say this out loud, but it's really great right now. There's no traffic. There's no one on the subway. It's really funny.
They've broadened the bikes lanes here in Berlin because they have the opportunity to, and they want to they want to give people extra room.
See, I know. See, this is the thing, and this is exactly what Naomi Klein's whole argument is. It's like just because the wrong actors take advantage of these moments to do the things that they've always wanted to do doesn't mean it can't go the other way.
Right.
Yeah, there's so many good things that could actually come out of this that are not, of course. But well, yeah, actually, technically, they could just freaking fix the L train, but that would be disastrous for me because that's my way in. What else is nice? I prefer takeout. I don't like the way. I hate sitting down and ordering and
we're coming up on time. We've been talking for an hour. Like final word, last thing that you'd like to leave people with. I'm not forcing you to be positive. Like if all that you see is just like gloom on the horizon, be honest, but like how would you sign off?
Well, I mean, one of the things that I have learned, especially just interacting with a good friend of mine who I think is just responding to this in a completely self-centered way. It was really difficult for me to come around, but I sort of, I do empathize with everyone's struggle with this. I mean, I felt differently about it until I started working in the hospital, and everything does suck. I mean, it's you're stuck at home and everyone's kind of over it, and everyone, the number one question I get from everyone, I would rather just deal with like straight technical medical questions, but nobody wants to do that. Everyone just wants to ask me, hey, when do you think this is going to be over?
Right.
I know I compared myself to God earlier, but not even God knows. This is, I mean, it's again, you could look at other countries, see what China did. China's supposedly going back to normal on April 8th. They're 85% normal, they say. I don't even know what any of that means. They went super extreme, crazy lockdown, literally lock people in their houses, take away the sick people, just full extreme, spray bleach down the street. And it took them 4 months. So, I mean, we have more cases than China now. So forget about it. You're asking the wrong question if you want things to go back to normal anyways.
Right.
I compiled a list of resources. It's on my Instagram now. I highly recommend it to people. It includes kind of medical articles. It includes kind of self-care. I think the best way to get through this is not just focusing on self-care, but mutual aid. Yep. I think the best thing that you can do to get through this is focus on figuring out how you can help someone else. That process of helping someone else makes your life less miserable. You're killing two birds with one stone.
Right.
I think if everyone just focuses on those things, we can actually like build something positive out of this. I would love people to stop watching the news and just that's a problem that predates this whole thing. Just bad information's so abundant, and that's why I tried to just curate a list of things that I think are good sources. So I made a list of my own, and I keep telling my friends to just trust me.
What's your
listen to anyone else?
What's your Instagram handle so people can look that up?
Well, it's good though, because it's what my nieces call me, Uncle Dr. Ben.
Uncle Dr. Ben. They want to say hi, by the way. We'll do that when we stop recording.
Okay. Wait, I definitely want to say hi to them too. What did I want to say? So it's one of the final thing. Oh yeah, no, I get it. So it's like, everyone has their own kind of suffering with this, but the final thing is that, we have to question the way everything has been done until now.
Thank you.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Hold on. The number one thing. This is my favorite thing that I've seen online recently. It's like, does everyone know now that you're stuck at home and you got nothing to do but watch TV and listen to music? Why the arts are important?
Yeah, support Comedy Café Berlin.
Do you see now that those are essential parts of society?
Right.
Do you think that maybe we should, I don't know, value that a little bit more, in every single way? We realized it now. So I like that some people's eyes are opening to certain things like socialism, but also to the importance of comedy.
Culture, yeah.
Yes.
You've not been paid to say that. You are our brother, so you do owe us some allegiance. I appreciate you saying that.
You know what I realized? We haven't asked.
I was going to do this too.
Yeah. I think we've gotten your temperature check on the world, but Ben, what's your temperature?
My literal temperature this morning?
Yeah. Have you been taking your temperature?
I do. I take it every day. Yeah. As I'm terrified, but you want that in Celsius or freedom units?
Give it to us in freedom units. What are you used to?
97.2 this morning.
Ooh, a little on the colder side.
It's me too, man. I'm always cold.
What are you in centigrade?
Celsius?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I prefer my thermometer only gives me the F.
It's like 36 and a half.
Okay. All right.
Let's get
let me get the girls so they can say hi.
Hi. So, are you guys having a good time with Papa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Things are a little different, huh? Do you know why we're all staying inside?
Yeah.
Why?
Because the sickness is going around.
Last week on the premiere episode of General Corona Hospital, Dr. Madrippy Toyboat shocks the community with news of the pandemic.
There is a dangerous virus coming to our country and to Glimbrick City.
Power-hungry fintech capitalist Linda Lunchworthy made it clear why she's out for blood.
Dr. Ronnie is becoming nearly as famous as my husband.
And the nightmare begins.
We have a serious incident on our hands. A bus full of very sick people pulled off the E-highway. They're having trouble breathing. 2 are passed out.
And now we take you to another episode of General Corona Hospital. This is a time like no other. All of our lives have been transformed. There is no escape, but there is escapism. Tune in to the story that everyone is talking about. General Corona Hospital. Part love story, part power struggle. General Corona Hospital delivers the melodrama you've come to expect in these days of pandemic. The genius medical doctor, Dr. Madrippy Toyboat, makes life and death decisions. Power-hungry fintech capitalist Linda Lunchworthy will stop at nothing to exploit the crisis. Sports adventurer Jack Jackson seeks out an exotic overseas cure. And young people fall in love. Some will live, some will die. Some will unexpectedly disappear or sleep with each other. We take you now to another exciting episode of General Corona Hospital. Tensions are running high at the workhouse. CEO and founder Linda Lunchworthy is not happy. In the corporate digital war room, Helena Hairball and sports adventurer Jack Jackson try to do their best, but the conversation is not going well.
No, Jack, we're not going to call Alex again. Every time we call Alex, the whole thing becomes a kerfuffle neither of us can get out of. Is that clear?
Fine. Just an idea.
Jack, just shut up, Jack. Okay, all of these ideas are absolutely stupid. I need those workers, okay? I do not care if they are sick or not, because we cannot stop production. Okay, we have to get them free from the hospital. Let's start thinking. Let's think. Let's get your thinking heads going. Come on. Give me ideas.
Okay.
We could wait for the state-recommended quarantine time to elapse, and then they'll be released with the antibodies needed to prevent them from reinfecting
Helena,
themselves.
I didn't know that I hired a little state-following hussy, okay?
Could they work from hospital? Like maybe give them a whole laptop setup, headphones.
I'm not giving them shit. I need to have these people under my fingertipped control. I will not be letting them work from hospital like some kind of new age work from home strategy.
Okay, all right, fine. I don't really have time for this. I got to get ready for my trip to Myanmar. I'm collecting ground-up elephant bones.
Oh, just go, Jack. I never even notice when you're gone. Helene, tell the entire workforce that there's absolutely no threat from this virus and that they cannot stay at home and hide in their little plaid bedrooms from a virus that is not a threat to them but only to production.
Yes, ma'am. I guess I could beat up a nurse, take her clothes.
Did you say beat up a nurse? I'll come along. That sounds like fun.
Of course you will, Jack. Well, get me my workers. Also, Helena, before you go, get me Dr. Madrippy Toy Boat on the line immediately. Okay? I demand that.
Yes, ma'am.
Like most days, Glimbrick City Hospital is busy, but standing in the lobby for hours while sick patients await treatment is Dr. Toyboat and medical genius Sahar. They finally spot the man they've been looking for.
Dance! Where have you been? You're late for your shift. We need you. What's going on?
Some nice people brought me here. They told me that I fell off my e-scooter and bumped my head. Is this a hospital?
Wait, Dance. Who brought you here?
I can't remember. I really can't remember much of anything.
Dance, you're staring at a soda machine. You do know that you work here, right?
I do?
Oh my god! He has amnesia.
Dance, what is my name?
I don't know.
God damn it, Dance. What can you remember?
Nothing. I remember nothing. Literally nothing.
You can't remember nothing. You're talking, so clearly you remember the English language. What other words in the English language do you remember?
Sports adventurer Jack Jackson. Does that mean something?
Well, I suppose that's a start. And the only way back to your memories is through that clue. You need to go find sports adventurer Jack Jackson and figure out what the hell he did to you. You go there now and you straighten yourself out because we need you back here to look after the patients. They're highly contagious and must remain in quarantine.
All right.
Well, get out of here.
Oh, sorry. I forgot.
You've forgotten what I've told you already?
I'm not sure.
But surely, Dance, surely you remember who I am, don't you? You mean to say you don't remember this face?
God damn it, Dance, look at my daughter's face and tell me you remember her
Please.
name. No, not that. Now you're looking at a water fountain. Turn around. The person who was just speaking to you.
You look very similar. Okay.
You don't remember me?
I don't know.
Please, come on, Dance. You gotta remember me.
You're Carlotta.
No.
Roberta.
No.
Oh my God, you look like Jackie Kennedy.
That doesn't matter at a time like this.
Janice?
No.
You look familiar.
I don't know, Dad. Close enough, right?
Yeah, it'll have to do for now.
What am I supposed to do?
You're our star nurse. We need you, Dance.
I have medical training.
Get them in there with the patients. Let's just see what happens.
Where are the patients?
Wandering way down on the outskirts of town, Dance miraculously finds his way to sports adventurer Jack Jackson's private motocross track.
Sorry, are you sports adventurer Jack Jackson?
Why, yes, I am. You've found the right person. Who might you be?
They call me Dance.
Dance. That's a funny name. How can I help you?
I fell off my e-scooter and bumped my head. I have trouble remembering things. My friends told me I should come to see you because your name is the only one I can remember.
Well, that's not unusual, I must say, but what can you remember?
Something like you were always a father figure for me.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since I got your action figure with my mega strong fist grip for Hanukkah, I always looked up to you.
Is that all you can remember?
Yeah, except that today I also learned that I work at the hospital. I almost forgot. I have amnesia.
Really? Amnesia? Yeah. Well, that's very, very interesting, my friend. I have news for you, Dance. Come here.
Yeah.
Come here. I'll put my arms around you. Come here. Now listen to me carefully. I'm not an action figure.
All right.
I'm not really a father figure either.
What?
I'm your actual father.
Wow. Oh my God, Dad. My name is Dance Jackson.
It sure is.
Dance Jackson.
Now you can't tell anybody that.
Why is that?
Well, because people won't believe you, Dance.
Oh.
I'm sorry. It'll just be our little secret, won't it?
Right.
As my son, I'd love to ask you a favor. I mean, I've done so much hard work raising you. It's only fair that you'd return the favor and help me out once. Wouldn't that be nice?
Sure. No, I would do anything for my father.
I have something I want you to do, okay?
Anything.
I want you to go back to the hospital.
I will.
Do you happen to know a Drippy Toyboat?
Yeah.
Strike up a conversation with Dr. Toyboat. I want you to get a little information on some of those patients.
Sure.
And now, scenes from the next episode of General Corona Hospital. Listen in to hear Dr. Toyboat discover...
Someone's replaced my office chair.
Be there when Linda Lunchworthy makes a stunning proclamation.
Jobs are for people who have a spine.
Feel the heat when the young, hardworking genius Sa'ar reunites with Dance. The cast of General Corona Hospital in order of appearance: Matilda Kaiser played Linda Lunchworthy, Noah Telson as sports adventurer Jack Jackson and Greg Gregories, Josh Telson as Dr. Madrippy Toyboat, Caroline Clifford as Helena Hairball, Jakob Wagner as Dance, and introducing Leah Katz as Sa'ar Toyboat. General Corona Hospital is a Resonator radio production. Special thanks to Comedy Café Berlin and the Temperature Check podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode of General Corona Hospital.
All right, that was the episode. Thanks for listening, everybody.
There it is. Thanks so much, everyone. Just a quick announcement before we get to our regular outros. We are going to be starting new sketch courses online with the CCB Training School. So if you're interested in writing sketch comedy, we've got an intro to sketch course. If you've got some sketch experience, particularly if you've taken courses with us before, we're going to be running an 8-week sketch writing advanced study course where you're just going to be writing a lot and getting feedback and help with all of that. And we're also going to be restarting courses, Noah.
That's right. We are obviously restarting courses with the condition that everyone has to maintain some physical distance, and we figured that out in our theater. More information on that is forthcoming. Hopefully by later tonight, we'll be sending around emails and hopefully getting new registration out there for space if space is a bit available. We also are available for corporate training. So if you are interested in some corporate training workshops, icebreakers, anything like that, we're available for that, especially now during this time. your companies might be a little bit frozen in time, and let's loosen it up with some fun.
That's right. And we can do those both online and now in person in physically distanced groups. So check all that out, training.comedycafeberlin.com.
All right. Josh, shall we do some outros? Here's some announcements, some things you need to know, some thank yous.
Just letting everyone know when they can tune out. All right.
I'm introing the outro is what I'm doing.
Do it.
All right. We're live streaming shows every week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday now. This schedule is going to be hopefully expanded upon as we realize and come to terms that we'll be doing online shows until August, most likely. So look forward to a lot more wacky, weird, fun stuff. We're expanding the repertoire. Check out the schedule, comedycafeberlin.com.
That's right. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Like us on Facebook. We're going to try streaming to multiple platforms starting soon, so we'll see what happens with that. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to Temperature Check. You can also follow Comedy Cafe Berlin online on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Instagram and all that good stuff.
You can support us during the theater, as always.
Take that again.
What did I just say? You can support the theater during the closure, as always, by visiting the website, comedycafeberlin.com, and selecting one of three options. Donate to us, purchase a gift certificate, or you can buy some sweet merch, and we'll ship it to you at home, or you can pick it up locally at a given specific time.
There you go. Thanks again this week to our time capsule guests, Dr. Ben Telson, our brother in Brooklyn. Thanks to Ben Lorch for episode 2 of General Corona Hospital.
And thanks to Joseph Nowak for our cover art, to Jakob Wagner for the theme music, and Exberliner for their continued support and promotion.
That's it. See you next week, everybody.
Bye.
Temperature check, icy cold. Temperature check, searing hot. Temperature check, listen to the temperature check, icy cold. Temperature check, searing hot. Temperature check, listen to the temperature check.